Welcome to the Spirit of a Badass, where we celebrate stories of courage, hope, and resiliency. I'm your host, Alecia Jacobson.
Hello, badasses. Welcome to today's show. This is an extra exciting show for me today that I actually lost sleep over last night because I was so excited about, one, asking these questions, because although this person today is my OG bestie, I don't think I know all the answers to these questions. So we're going to get some juiciness here today. So today I'm sharing, like I said, my OG bestie with you, Becky and I. The first memory that I have of her is walking to swim team practice, in the fourth grade, and we shared a piece of gum. I think she took it from her mouth, took it out, and then gave it to me, and then I chewed it, which is disgusting. We were maid of honor in both of each other's first weddings. And the reason Becky is here today is she is going to talk about how she had her first wedding, got divorced, and then remarried her ex-husband. And she's going to tell us all about that story. Becky lives in Oregon, Wisconsin with her husband and her son. She is an ER nurse and a med spa owner. Becky is the person that gets all of my gross pictures of anything that has gone medically awry in my household. And I say, what is this? What do I need to do? And this is all hours of the day. So I hope you all have a bestie out there that you can send these gross pictures to, because it is very helpful. Welcome, Becky.
Thank you for having me, finally, after all this time. I've been asking to get on the podcast. And side note, I was never on swim team, so just debunk that memory.
Swimming lessons?
Maybe swimming lessons, yeah. I never was on swim team, although I should have been. I was a very good swimmer.
Becky is also, she's just dropped that for you so I can share it. She is also an Iron Man. Way to sneak that in. She is also an Iron Man. So I'm sorry for not. You did tell me to write your intro. So she's not wearing her Iron Man gear today, but usually when I see her, there is something.
I don't have anything on, so you might not know. I will show the tattoo if you need me to, though.
Okay. And I know that you can't see her, but she has some fabulous lipstick on, super hot. And if you are hearing this and you are not connected with me on Instagram, go to my Instagram, because I'll be posting reels of this. And you just need to see this, because what is it called that you're wearing?
It's by Potty Mouth Lips.
Potty Mouth. And I
don't know the color.
It's hot freaking pink on your face.
I do love a good hot pink lip.
Mm-hmm. Looks good. All right. So you are here to talk about remarrying your ex-husband. So this was a long time ago that I think we got married in the same year, early 2000s.
Yeah, right around there. Early 2000s, yep.
And how long were you married for first go around?
So, as Alecia knows, I married my high school sweetheart-ish, I guess. I mean, we had quite an age difference. He was out of high school when I was still in it, but stayed together all through college. We got married in 2004, and then we got divorced.
Wait. That sounds kind of creepy. You both were in high school at the same time originally.
Yes. Yeah, I was a freshman and he was a senior.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I just want to clarify that, because you saying you were in high school, he was out of high school.
Oh, yeah, no, he's not
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that her current husband is not a creeper.
He's not a creeper. He is not a creeper. No, I was a freshman and he was a senior. So, I mean, back then it was still a little naughty to be doing that. Freshmen were supposed to date, freshmen. We both went to school here in Madison. And so after college, we were both up on campus. And I still did all of the things that college girls should do. I still lived in the dorms. And then I moved out with my girlfriends 2 years in a row. I didn't jump right into living with him. I went on spring break every year with friends. I never gave up on my college life, except for the slutty college years, because I was in a committed relationship. I don't know if I can say that on this podcast or what, but I feel like
so funny. I do swear, but I was going to actually text you and say, here's 3 things I don't want you to say. I was going to say, don't say slut, but there we go. We've already said it. We're there. But yep, go ahead.
Okay. promiscuous, however you want to call it. It is what it is. I didn't have it in college. I did not have those years. I am not promoting those years by any means. I'm just saying I did not have them because I was in a committed relationship all through college. So then we did what everybody else was doing, which was got married after college. You know, you married your first husband. All of my other friends married their first husbands. Some of them are still together. Some of them are not. But that's just what you did. You know, I graduated nursing school. I got a good job. My husband graduated college. He got a good job. We're both still in those jobs. And we bought a house and we got married. That's what you're supposed to do. So that's what we did.
Let me pause for a second because this is really interesting. Like the idea of that's just what we did. That is so irritating to me now. Because it wasn't like there was, what are the other options? It was just what we did. That's not the way it is now, but it truly was like the person, it was an opportunity right in front of you. That's just what you did.
Yep. That's just what you did. You went, and you know, I was 23 years old when I got married the first time. 23-year-olds now, when I talk to them, no, you can't be getting married yet. You don't even know who you are. So the fact that I did that was crazy to me. So, you know, you get married and then you start the life, and miraculously, kids were not on our radar. Miraculously. I mean, you had kids. Everyone else was having kids around us, but for some reason that just wasn't in the cards for us that first go around, which in hindsight was a blessing, because then, you know, year 4 of the marriage, it just kind of starts to dwindle. And I started to think, did I miss out on something? What am I doing here? What am I supposed to do now? I still didn't have an urge to have children. So I was in this like rut. Like I had been in my job for 4 or 5 years now. And I was just like, I don't know, I need a change. And then I think I just self-sabotaged my marriage because of that. So then we kind of just went down the spiral.
Okay, so you went down the spiral. How long then were you separated for? And what made you kind of have the like pull towards going back to each other?
So the grass is never greener on the other side, in this situation for me at least. I did everything wrong after I got divorced, and Alecia was there for the entire time. Well,
share with us what the wrong is.
Okay, well, the wrong is, so you decide to do something.
You can give us the PC version.
Okay, so you decide to dissolve your marriage because you feel like you've missed out on something. The wrong thing to do is to immediately jump into another relationship and stay in that relationship for like 3 or 4 years. The right thing to do would have been to go out and date, go have fun, you know, go see what's out there. So I didn't do that. I did the first thing, which was jump into another relationship right away and stayed in that relationship for probably 3.5 years longer than I should have. And I don't have regrets about that relationship. It was what I needed at the time. I met some really great friends out of that relationship. It ended very poorly, but that wasn't my fault. So no. So I met really
So of course it wasn't your fault. Okay. So most of my audience, I don't think is in their early 20s. So I just want to make a little like asterisk here of if you are getting divorced now and you are in your 30s, you are in your 40s, I don't know that going out and like playing the field, like dating around is probably the best thing to do, because this is like a different life space. Like you might want to figure out like what the fuck went wrong and like who you are, what your needs are. And I don't know that you can find that in other people. That's a very good time for being introspective and figuring out you before you go out and do that. So just want to put that out there that this is not an endorsement. I mean, maybe a little bit, like I did the same damn thing, but we were in our 20s.
Correct. I
guess I was 30.
Yeah, I mean, I was a lot younger than you. I was like 28. So yeah, no, doing that now as a 42-year-old woman, absolutely not. I actually probably would die an old spinster. I don't know. Like I don't. This thought of dating to me is very scary. I mean, I would get over that, you know, because I also don't want to die alone. Oh, but my husband is, you know, now stuck with me because we can't divorce a second time because everyone will disown us. So,
So that is another question I had for you was what did your family and friends think when you were like, oh, wait, you didn't answer. Like, what brought you back together?
so what brought us back together was, so I got out of this other relationship kind of abruptly. And this is when like your timeline is kind of fuzzy, but I dated a couple people, but before I met back up with Brian, who's my husband now and my first husband, I was done with my other relationship for probably like almost a year. But to be honest, I don't remember that year. Like I have no idea. I know where I lived, and I think you and I went out a couple times, but like I don't remember.
Oh, totally.
Like I don't remember a lot that happened in that year. Probably because it was just, you're picking up the pieces. And so I had a dog, Luna, and before we got divorced, we had another dog, Arlo. And so we had Arlo and Luna. And when we got divorced, we split them up. Sad, yes, the dog people will come at me for this, but my dog was very independent. She didn't like the pug. So anyways, we take the dogs. So then I'm at the dog park and my husband works there and he was there, but I think he was actually there on an off day or something. And he was there with Arlo and Luna and we walked around the park together and we talked, and he was single. I was single. So then we started the good old like texting and messaging, and it just kind of went from there. So it was the dog park that brought us back together.
I totally forgot. I totally forgot about that. And I forgot about Luna and Arlo. Okay, if you know me, I really want to like dogs, but I struggle with the dogs. And there's some people's dogs, I get all weird when I'm around. I'm like, please don't touch me. I loved your dogs. Mm-hmm. I did. I think I like Arlo more than Luna though. Sorry.
Really, the pug, you're either a pug person or you're not a pug person. And Arlo was a great little pug. So, but yeah, so that's kind of how we got back together. There was a lot of rough stuff in the beginning because he had lived a new life without me and he had changed a lot, and so had I. So it was starting over from scratch. He had a lot of healing that he had to do. I had a lot of unresolved things that I had to deal with, and then we had to kind of make that decision if we were going to do this again. So for the first 2 months of our relationship, we didn't tell a soul. We didn't tell our parents. I didn't tell you. I told no one. I know. It's probably the one thing that I ever kept from you, but we just had to figure it out on our own. We couldn't have any external influences, basically. But to kind of tag on what Alecia was probably going to ask me, which was what did everybody think when we got back together? And everybody was happy because my entire divorce time, we had a very amicable divorce. He remained, tried to do the friend thing. That never works, by the way. You can't be friends with your ex-husband. If you have children involved, probably a little bit different. But in our case, there was no reason for me to be friends with my ex-husband. So he never bashed me. I never bashed him. So when we got back together, it was very easy for people. And it was welcomed with open arms. People were very happy. One of my friends started crying when I told her. We weren't met with any resistance.
Yeah. All right. So you said you had healing to do. So what was that process like?
So I think there was a little bit of, regret because now we've lost 5 years. So we were divorced for about 5 years. So I had to kind of get over that. Like a lot of it was, I felt like I was 5 years behind everybody else or more. Finn at the time was probably 10 and I hadn't had one baby yet, so it's like we didn't have kids. Now I'm in my 30s. My biological clock is ticking, tick-tock, like you're thinking you need to have a kid.
Oh, I thought you meant now.
No, now I'm done. God, no. That shop's closed.
I was like, you're lying. You can't lie.
No, I'm not lying. I'm saying back then I was like, if we're going to have a kid, we should have a kid. So, and in our view on children had changed too. Like I had now grown up around all of my friends who had kids, and that was something that we both wanted. We both only wanted one though, so that was always the plan, one kid.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So you're getting in, you're dating, you're doing all these things. Were there any things that came up in your first marriage that then kind of came into the second marriage that you had to address? And if so, how did you do that?
Oh, that first marriage seems so long ago. I don't know. Like, what's an example?
Well, I don't know. Like, okay, so I've been divorced and remarried, and one thing is I'm always right. Always. And that was a huge issue in my first marriage because he would get upset because I was always right. And it is also an issue in my second marriage because I'm sorry, I'm right. So they like don't like that. So that's like an issue that I have. And now we are in therapy together dealing with like what makes me feel like I always have to be right. Why am I like so like a grip to it? Like my rightness makes me like right and it's important to me. So we're in therapy about it. So like anything like that.
I mean, probably, to be honest, I feel like we were just so young. Like, I didn't know. I mean, I thought I knew everything. I know everything now. But so I'm also always right. But I didn't know anything back then.
Yes.
There was so much to life that I had to learn. And in that first marriage, it was really hard because you're growing up with everyone going through the same thing around you. So it's almost like you're all on the same path. It gave no opportunity to figure out what I wanted or what you're supposed to want.
Well, I think that's a thing is because we're sort of given this picture of you do steps 1 through 5, and this is how you do life. And then we sort of have this like whisper of like, wait, this is not what we're supposed to be doing.
All right, we're interrupting this podcast because if you need to get your shit together, the number one thing I hear from my clients is that they don't have their shit together during the day because they don't have a solid morning routine. And I have a morning routine freebie out right now. If you want it, it's in the show notes. It gives you everything that could possibly make up a solid morning routine. You can pick from it and then start to implement it. It's how I keep my shit together. It's how you can keep your shit together. It works for every single one of my clients who does it and then sticks to it. You can do all the things that you need to do within your day by starting with a solid start to your day. So go ahead and download this morning routine and get your shit together.
And I also had these feelings of like, this is not what I should be doing. And I only did it because I thought this is what I was supposed to be. Like, I thought this was the path that everybody's just supposed to take. And I work with women now where they get to the spot where they're like, wait a second, all of a sudden it's like the curtain is pulled back and they're like, wait, what else is there? There are other things. Like, it doesn't just have to be steps 1 through 5 that I was told to do because this is what everybody else was doing.
Exactly. Yep.
So how has your perspective on love, commitment, the idea of marriage, how has that shifted over, not just like we both experienced a first marriage and like, what is it now in your like older, elder brain?
So I think now, and this was even took place like with our 2 weddings. Like when you look at the first wedding compared to the second wedding, the first wedding, you are all about your appearance. I wanted the perfect dress. I wanted the perfect hair. I wanted my bridesmaids to act a certain way, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you were at my first wedding. My second wedding, you were not at because it was a very intimate ceremony. 4 or 5 people. Like there was very few people at that because it was just the 2 of us. This life that we've built now has been around the 2 of us and what the 2 of us want versus having all of those external sources telling you what you want. So we have not, I feel like, more empowered to decide our path versus what society, what my other friends are doing, and all of that has told me from my first marriage. So we're just kind of in this more together, make decisions better together, just more a feeling of connect this time around.
So this is something that now it's so funny because you have done this and so did my sister. I don't know anybody else who has 2 people who have done this. However, this idea of like the place that you're coming from, being on your own path, that I think must come with like having the sort of breakdown and then rebuilding because, before it's all what are other people thinking? What are other people doing? This like externally, you said like, I wanted the dress to be perfect. I wanted this to be perfect. And people people put their lives together in a way that they're so concerned about what other people think. And then you sort of have this breakdown. And when you rebuild it, you're like, fuck what other people think. I want to live from the place that it feels authentic to me. It's like at your very core, what is important to me and my life? Like, what do I want to accomplish versus, everything else? So Becky's story is unique. However, anybody who sort of has this like curtain back realization of, wait a second, I have been blindly going through this. And what is it that I actually want? And that's something legit daily in coaching. Like, this is exactly what we do. And you found it through the, dissolving of one marriage, re-coming together and thinking like, what do we actually want? And mine was sort of the same. Like, you weren't at my second wedding. I don't even know if I told you, like, I shoved a dress in a suitcase and flew off and got married. Like, literally just shoved it in wrinkly, like no fucks given, like on a boat someplace, like don't care.
Yeah. And my second wedding was amazing, as was yours. So I think it's just a matter of like, you just have to figure out the reasoning behind it. If it's the marriage because that's what you're supposed to do when you're a 23-year-old girl, I am here to tell you it is not. It is not the thing you need to do. There's other options.
Well, and I think the idea, first of all, that you even have to get married in the first place, I feel like there are so many women now living these really fulfilled, happy lives. But then there are some that I work with that it's like they have this idea that they have to go out and find this partner and they're not complete without this other person, when really it's like, find your completeness first. And then if somebody compliments you, like, fine, that's lovely. But you don't have to do it like the way that society says, because it's just kind of bullshit.
It is complete bullshit.
All right. So last question is, share with us a technique or something that you use to save time, energy, or resources.
Okay, here's the thing that I do. I get up really early. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I'm in grad school right now, and one of the things that I told myself was that I don't want my family to feel the pressure of me being in grad school. So what I do is I get up early in the morning before my son gets up, and I do my grad school work. So it allows me to get that part of my life done with. It doesn't affect my family. Having a really good sleep life balance is essential. I think that everybody should get 8 hours of sleep. I understand that that is not possible, but you need to get 8 hours of sleep. Like, if you want to be productive in your day, you need to sleep. And if it's getting up at 5 a.m, you got to go to bed early. You're in bed by 9. So it's very rare that I am up past 9:30 at night. But I feel very productive in those morning hours. I get a lot done in those morning hours. So for me, that's what works. But I know exactly how much sleep I need. I've always needed a lot of sleep. Otherwise, I'm a raging bitch.
Okay, so this is what you said is, I know exactly how much sleep I get, and I get it. So hear that. You know how much sleep you need to get, and then go and set your life up so that you can get it. Because so many people know, and they're like, but I do this and this, and I'm on social media. Like, I know if I'm going to text Becky after 9 o'clock, I'm not going to get a response. However, she's one of the few people that I can text before 6 a.m. and I will get a response immediately. So she is saying like, okay, here's what my body needs. Here is how, and like, I can call her a bitch because she's my bestie. But like, here is what will happen if I don't get this sleep. And then I act accordingly. Like, you know, inside, and then act accordingly. Set your life up around it. Like, excellent. All right, Becky, thank you so much for being here today. I think this has been my most like appropriate podcast interview that I have done. We will link everything to Becky in the show notes if there's any links for her, and maybe the lipstick too, because that's just totally super sexy.
I'm telling you, marriage too. Got to have the good lip.
All right, Becky, thank you. Spirit of a Badass is a Lit Path Studios podcast and is produced by Jamie Gale and Alecia Jacobson. Music by Shane Ivers. We'll be back with another inspiring interview. Until then, keep your spirits high and your energy badass.